Hey guys, it's Bino from We Make Best, and today we're going over every card in Outsiders for Classic Constructed.
But real quickly, before we get into this video, we just want to thank FabDB for sponsoring us. As many of you already know, we are huge fans of brewing up some spicy decks with unorthodox cards, and that's all thanks to the card database here on FabDB. We use the search feature to easily find every single playable card for a hero, and often look for the underplayed cards and try to see if we can break them. So if you're also a huge fan of brewing up the most jank decks possible, then check out FabDB. But now let's get back to this vid.
First off, we're going to go over the tokens. The Bloodrot token basically just adds 2 damage to whatever applied it, often making your cards above rate because no one's ever paying for that effect. And the Inertia token is a huge upside against Crown of Seeds and Icelander. It also guarantees the opponent's next turn is only 4 cards, so you can often just take their next turn and take the temple after that. Often your opponents will just play all their cards once they have this token. So the strength of the token is when the opponent doesn't have the ability to plan around it, either because it's being activated in by Uzuri or created at the end of the combat chain. Frailties are very good against daggers and Kodachis and rangers that are looking to play arrows from their arsenal, although it doesn't do too much against any of the other heroes in Classic Constructed. Outsiders has introduced 3 brand new daggers for assassins that have the same templating as Spider's Bite, but apply to different card types. Most matchups you'll still be running at least 1 Spider's Bite, but Orbiter Class for Rune Blades and Wizards, Scale Peeler for cards like Rampart and Valiant Dynamo, Nerve Scalpel into other assassin decks, and defensive decks such as Riptide and Guardian. Flick Knives will probably be the go-to arms equipment for assassins, as they never really had a fitting piece before this. The card is very good at forcing through important on-hit effects. Attacking with 1 dagger and then attack reacting with Flick almost completely negates the ability for opponents to block. This can allow you to close out the game, or even just doing it early in order to force through a powerful on-hit effect in order to take control and tempo of the game. This is a very strong equipment for Assassin. Redback Shroud seems strong on paper, but actually doesn't work for either of the Assassin heroes. Uzuri can't recur it due to not having contract cards. She runs stealth cards instead, meaning she can't actually make the silvers. And Arachne can't abuse the resource due to them not running any 1-cost attack reactions to use the effect on. Infiltrate is one of the best stealth cards in the set due to the power of the on-hit effect. This card basically demands a block for 6 due to the threat of Uzuri's hero ability, or simply attack reacting the infiltrate itself. As an Uzuri specialization, Shakedown is obviously one of her best cards. The on-hit requirement is satisfied whenever you activate her hero ability, and the on-hit is very disruptive, often ruining opponents' turns by taking their only red or stripping all their resources. The Spike with attack reactions are very powerful, but they only work on stealth cards. To benefit from these, you have to play red stealth cards that are under rate, but it's possible that these attack reactions make up for that. The stealth cards in Outsiders will be core role-playing cards for Uzuri, and most Uzuri builds will run plenty of these at blue and potentially reds if you're running the Spike attack reactions. Outsiders introduced new combo cards to the standard I can't talk, man. Outsiders introduced new combo cards to the standard Surging Strike line. Descendant Gust Wave can replace Whelming Gust Wave or even start your combo chain, as it has natural go again. Both of these Gust Waves then link into Bonds of Ancestry, which is our pick for the best card in the set. The effect of this card is super powerful due to you being able to tutor for any card in your graveyard and then play it this turn. This means if you've ever blocked with a Dishonor or even a Flusterfish during the game, you can end your chain with a free 0 for 4, which makes Bonds a 0 for 8 across 2 chain links for Mask of Momentum, which is absolutely insane. Dishonor's on-hit is obviously extremely broken and even game-winning if you let it hit, but it's very hard to get all 3 required chain links in a single turn, as your combo often starts with Descendant Gust Wave, but still having a 0-cost 3-block that attacks for 4 as a blue is very nice. And the potential for game-winning upside makes this an instant staple in Katsu. The Twin Twisters combo line is not as powerful as the Surging line due to the weakness of Twin Twisters itself, but the good thing is you can simply start the combo with Spinning Wheel Kick. Spinning Wheel Kick is a good rate card due to natural go again and being a breakpoint. This lets you threaten Katsu's ability on the first chain link, which can allow you to find any missing combo piece. In saying that, Spinning Wheel Kick also combos on itself, providing a slight hedge against fatigue. And as long as your deck contains 1 Cyclone Roundhouse, blocking this with Battle Worn or Temper equipment is extremely risky, as Cyclone can come out and banish that defending card for the rest of the game. Head Leads the Tail is a nice card for the Crouching Tiger Katsu, which desperately needed another payoff card. Be Like Water is a very flexible card that can count towards multiple combo lines. This card allows us to run the full Spinning Wheel Kick line without having to play Twin Twisters, while also contributing to our strongest line as a 1-cost Surging Strike. Trench of Sunken Treasure has a place in defensive Riptide decks in order to clear your arsenal if you didn't play your arsenal defense reaction during your opponent's turn. This allows you to actually load arrows on your own turn and attack the opponent. Quiver of Abyssal Depths is a free remembrance on an equipment slot, which is very good for range's main weakness, that being fatigue. Quiver of Rustling Leaves gives you a chance to fix your hands with no arrows, and is a nice inclusion if you have a spare sideboard slot. Crow's Nest is a very powerful powerful enabler for Azalea, allowing her to benefit off of aim counter synergies such as Deadeye, Drill Shot, Sedation Shot, and Barbed Undertow. Barbed Undertow is a decent rate at a 1 cost 5 that blocks for 3. But if it's flipped with Azalea's ability, the on-hit effect can nullify opponents' turns completely and leave them with a handful of dead cards due to Dominate. Buzzsaw Trap and Collapsing Trap are extremely powerful against aggressive decks, but Spy Pit Trap is hard to trigger on top of having an underwhelming effect. Melting Point is a very strong sideboard card against ninjas and assassins. To blow up Kodachis or daggers on top of it also being a supercharged Calm to Fight. The card is very strong. Boulder Trap is a nice card for rangers to counter another one of their big weaknesses in Rampart of the Ram's Head. The effect is extremely easy to trigger as the Guardian's Hammer naturally gains attack. The Tar Pit Tarp is very powerful against aggressive decks, threatening on-hit effects such as Snatch, Mounting Anger, and even using this on the Assassin daggers to negate their next powerful on-hit effect. The Lace With cycle of pump spells are very strong, and Blood Rot is potentially a 0 for 5 pump, which is well above rate. Inertia can also disrupt heroes that are looking to play 5-card hands or Arsenal power cards and prevent Arsenal effects like Icelander's ability and Crown of Seeds. Infecting Shot is potentially a 1 for 8, counting the Blood Rot token, which is extremely above rate if the card actually hits. Sedation Shot is a 1 for 5 with an on-hit that can really hurt heroes' game plans. Spy Sniping is a very powerful card for Azalea, and this card brings a lot of consistency to Azalea's hero ability, allowing her to set up massive turns more often by placing Spy into her arsenal to set up what she will hero ability into. Concealed Blade is a great card to pair with Flick Knives, and this is the first card that allows you to interact with your sideboard. Flick Knives can actually allow you to trigger 2 dagger effects, making it near impossible to block your attack action, and then Concealed Blade on that attack reaction allows you to re-equip another dagger. Knives Out seems to be quite overrated. To us it seems like a 2-power blue that blocks 3, but is just less synergistic than other Assassin and Ninja blues because you cannot attack react it. Bleed Out is our pick for the most slept on card in the set. It has amazing synergy with both Kodachis and daggers, as well as Flick Knives that all simply turn this card into a Blaze Headlong. Look out for this card in the future meta. Hurl is for the most part a head jab, although in the late game its effect can count for 2 to 3 damage because of the 1 direct damage and the -1 on their blocks. Watch out for this card if they ever print more re-equip effects similar to the Concealed Blade. Death Touch can only be played from Arsenal, but is negated by Azuri's ability or Riptide's ability. The card is very high rate at 1 for 6 with a decent on-hit. Expect to see some of these, especially in Assassin decks. The Codex cycle all replace themselves, guaranteeing you an Arsenal at the end of the turn, while each having their own unique effect and token. The Blood Rot lets you Arsenal that can't be played from hand cards, so you can actually play them on the same turn that you draw them, while also dealing 2 damage to the opponent. The Frailty seems like the strongest Codex if it's the last card in your hand. You can negate the discard effect, making it a straight up draw 2 cards and give your opponent a Frailty at the same time. Inertia is definitely the weakest out of the 3 due to the potential of putting a weak or unplayable card into your arsenal and the situational power of the token. Although if your opponent does have an arsenal, this card is still a pseudo draw 2 as long as you can play the card that you get put into your arsenal. Vambrace of Determination is a minor upgrade for heroes that don't have class specific arms into Olhim. They don't break on use, allowing you to push damage and on hits through Crown of Seeds and Earth React. Amnesia seems like a very anti-Katsu card, as you can name combo lines or even Crouching Tiger. This card could become a staple in the format if Katsu becomes big in the meta. The only reason you'd want to run Down and Dirty is because it's a popper that you can play from Arsenal, meaning you don't have to hold onto the card and give away the fact that it's a popper. Watch out for this card when Dusk Till Dawn releases and we get more Illusionist cards that focus on Phantasm. Give and Take is Nutty Insurgent Aethertide Kano, link on the screen to our deck tech for that. But generic 3-attack Go Again that blocks for 3 is very good. And it can be very good in Katsu because Mask of Momentum can force your opponent to block this card and allow you to put a piece of your combo line on top of your deck. Gore Belching is very random, but the variance can be minimized in deck building. Putting this in an Azuri deck and using it through the ability is a 2-card 7. Burdens of the Past in Briar decks can be very useful as a 4-block blue that has a decent effect to counter defensive decks. Premeditate is a very powerful card for ranges and potentially other aggro decks due to how similar it is to Ponder Run. The Ponder token replaces this card, so it's essentially a free +3 attack on your next attack. Humble is pretty good effect against certain heroes and is a potential sideboard staple. Looking for a scrap is a 1 for 5 Go Again, which is a very good rate, but it does require some deck building restraints. Very synergistic with the blue stealth attacks that all attack for 1, so stay tuned for our Azuri guide that demonstrates the power of looking for a scrap. Alright, real quick before we end the video, we've recently released a Discord server, link in the description, and we're also going to use the Discord for our Patreon only winner box tournament, so stay tuned for that. Alright, that's it for the Outsiders set review. Stay tuned for our guides for each hero in the set, and we outies.